Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have bingo-y tiles, but a lot of T's, so there may not be a bingo here. I'm not seeing a 7, but I do now have some floaters to consider. So, do I have anything with the M? I have the ment ending, and the man and men ending, but I'm not seeing anything. How about the O? Nothing there. Now, how about the R? Well, I have entreat, but that's one short of a bingo. Gosh, the R does look promising, but I'm not seeing a bingo. And the E. No, well, there could be a bingo here. Tricky to spot with triplicate tiles, but I'm not seeing it. So, I'm thinking about playing Tate to get value from the M. It does take an S in front. This rack leave is pretty good. So I think the only thing better than this really would be a bingo. Moore takes an S in front, so I'm not creating anything new by playing Tate by way of hooks. Is there really not a bingo here? So I've got the ETTE ending, et, with NAT. No, I'm not seeing it. I'm going with this. And I do draw an S, but just the one vowel. So I may not have a bingo this turn, but certainly these are all bingo-y tiles, and if opponent sticks a vowel out in the open, I may have a bingo. I would certainly have a bingo with an I, trindles, tendrils, possibly snurtled. 2 of those 3 are good. Now, do I have anything through the E of Moore? Tate takes an R and an S after it. No, not that I'm seeing. How about these 2-letter sets? Not seeing anything with AM. Nor TO, nor ER, so I'm not seeing anything. Opponent does provide a U. So Rundlets is good, but Mora isn't. Does Rundlets have an anagram? I don't think it does. Ner takes an L at the end. And an S, possibly an R, possibly not. Now there's a new 2-letter set, EN, but I'm not seeing anything with that. Now what about a play parallel to Ner? My D can go underneath EN. So do I have any DRE plays? And I don't think I do. So quite a tricky position. I don't have a 4-letter play across row H apart from ELDS, and I don't think that scores enough to justify burning the S. 21 points. What about something like this? Well, I'm looking for a play in column 13 which doesn't use the S and which plays the L and leaves a decent rack leave, and I'm not seeing it. What about this? Because my vowel is quite precious. Drent is a decent score. I'm retaining the S, I'm retaining the E. Drent takes nothing after it. So I'm not providing opponent with an opportunity. And I'm really encouraging him to play across in row H. He won't score very much. He can't put a high scoring tile above the R. And if he does that, he'll be providing floaters, one of which will be a vowel, which will definitely be good for this rack leave. I am going with this. And Tater still takes an S in front. So I draw a U. Is there a 7-letter bingo here? Well, not that's come to mind. And where are the single floaters? Well, there's the R. And I have plunders through that, but I am expecting that to be taken in some fashion, either a play in row H or down column 12 or down column 13. I guess opponent may play across row F, which would be good. Wow, great bingo for opponents. 88 points. Plunders certainly blocked. So are there any floaters which might be useful? And this rack doesn't look like it goes well with consonants, and the A is not available. So I don't think I do have a bingo with this rack, unless it's through AM. I mustn't forget that more takes an S, but I don't think that's going to be particularly useful. So I'm looking to get rid of the U, play the P for score. So do I have a play beginning PR? Well, I do. I have pruned for 31, retaining the S. And I'm going with this. Well, not good, or is it? I think it's fine because I have Shekel, and I'm just wondering if Shekel takes an S. I think it does. In which case this is unblockable because of Stater and because of Ners. And if Shekel doesn't take an S, then I can certainly play it as a 6-letter play and get rid of the Q immediately. So where's best? I guess column 14, because the H will be tripled and I'll get all the points for Ners. That is going to stick an S in the middle of row O, but I think the points will justify it. So this is what I'm thinking of. Shekels for 114. Bang! It's good. And I take the lead. Fantastic. So, what have I drawn? Well, a mixed bag, always 7 random tiles. You can't be surprised by what you draw, and this is certainly better than some draws. So I'm not seeing a bingo here. It's close to bite wing, certainly not close enough. 32 points for opponent. He retakes the lead, just 5 points between us. So, how to sort this rack out? Well, I could play whist for 33. That's certainly dampening down the board and taking out a hotspot. It would be nice to play off the B or G with the W. This rack leave isn't great. It's certainly not bingo-y. 13 minutes on my clock. So do I have something longer through this S? And I'm not too bothered about what goes on the double letter square. Not seeing anything. Now, is there anywhere else I should be looking at? My takes a C. Still 2 C's to come. What about a play down column 15? I can place an I next to the Q. Well, I can't do anything better than Iwi in that spot. For 26, well, that's not as good as whist. I'm going with whist for 33. Not a good pickup. Triplicate I. And I no longer have the W for iwi, which in any event was blocked by whist. Opponent scoring steadily. Just 2 points between us. And it's quite a tight board. An S is going to be really useful for Stater or for UFO. Still 2 S's and 1 blank to come. But for non-bingos, this is a struggle. So I can play Ghibli, which sort of sorts the rack out, but at the expense of providing hotspots for opponent in row H and floaters. That's 17 points, which is better than changing. That's 18, that's 1 more, and doesn't provide access to this triple word square. Can I do any better? I certainly have to get rid of 2 I's. And look at this, still a load of A's and I's to come, but 18 points means this is definitely better than changing. Po takes an I after it, but that would just be a 2-letter play. Neither my B nor my G goes next to the Q. I could play ale in that spot. Ah, well, maybe there is something better. What about playing Ilia? 26 points, better score, and providing nothing. This is a better play. I'm going with this. Well, not bad, but I don't think there is a 7-letter bingo here. But it's certainly a lot nicer than the last rack. No duplicates. Opponent retakes the lead. And he makes a play which provides nothing, which is good play on his part. Whichever one of us provides a scoring spot just invites the other person to use it. It's much better if you can score yourself and not provide an opening like my opponent and I have done with our last 2 turns in column 15. So, what to do here? This board is looking super tight. The Stater hook quite big, and I can do something about that. I can play big for 18 points. Really just inviting a ladder, but since we're neck and neck, that's not a terrible thing to do. XI has taken out the C hook for my. And really any ladder going up the board is likely to be, well, where the action is, apart from 2 bingo lanes, which is row I, hooking gam, and row N, sticking an S on the end of UFO. Possibly a small play in column 11. Now, can I do better than big? Well, I certainly can't put anything in front of T-Ho, in which case anything bigger would be out towards the left and provide more scoring opportunities for opponents. Can I do better? What about a play of Biz here? 20 points. And providing less. Tater does take an S, but so does UFO. So I wasn't really blocking anything massive. And this is a better vowel consonant balance, and there are a lot of vowels to come. I am going with Biz. Pretty good. I have tangoed. Nowhere for it. But it's a nice balanced rack. Wow, fantastic bingo by opponents. And 2 floaters, or 3 floaters, including the A. But how about the S? That's a very bingo-y set of 8 tiles. Tangoed doesn't take an S. And I'm not seeing a bingo with that. The N doesn't look useful. Wow, 2 S's and a blank, so no S's or blanks left. Brutal. Just checking if Tangoed plays. Tangoed does play in row F. Fantastic. Making ET and damn. Wow, I so nearly missed that. Well, that saved a few negative comments below the video. Now, is there anything better than Tangoed? The A is available. Not seeing anything with that. What about the I of Biz? No. So, here we go. Tangoed for 73, and I draw a big scoring tile in the J. Quite a volatile board now with the T in the middle of column 1, and the remaining tiles, despite there being no S's or blanks, does have quite a bit of bingo potential. But it also has the potential for vowel heaviness. Let me count the vowels. 13 out of 26, so not as vowel heavy as it initially looked to me. So where am I going to score with my J? And I can't see a way of getting the J doubled and the play tripled. Although the O goes well with the J, the F and the C don't. Now, what about the O of Tangoed? No. Do I have a longer play across the top? I don't. Neither vowel goes in front of the G. So I have Joko in column 5. I'd like to play the C or the F as well as the J. Nice play by opponent, 36 points. He's now got a 20-point lead, and he provides very little. I do have Joe in row K. I have Sujo in column 13. But these are not big J plays. 14 tiles in the bag. Now, column 8 at the bottom, quite hot. Potentially, if one could get a play tripled with a big scoring tile on the double letter square. Now, what about a play through the N, getting the J doubled, so a J-O-N play or a J-E-N play? Not seeing one. I do have Rejon, 6 minutes on my clock. Joko is still available, and that's quite a safe play because nothing goes in front of the J. And the rack leaves quite nice. And if I draw an N, I may have an ENF word in column 8. I'm coming back to column 4. Still looking for John plays. Not seeing one. Now, are there any JF plays apart from Jeffe? I would have Fjord onto a D. 5 minutes on my clock. I have Joe in column 2. I think I would like to split up the C and the F. I do have Joko on my rack, but I'm not seeing anywhere for that. Well, I would have it here. 28 points. Is that a smart thing to do? Opponent could have a G or a jar. It's certainly not setting up anything great for me, but it's playing off that extra O compared to Joko, and Joko was placing an O in row D for a play in that row. I do trail, so introducing extra volatility is good. I'm playing off one more tile, which increases my chances of drawing the tiles for N free. I am going with this. Well, I don't have N free, and it's not bingo. B and F together are pretty bad. I was just waiting for my opponent to play through the J, and he hasn't done so, but he's continuing to score well, so I trail by 20 and I'm not in good shape. I don't have anything across from the J, so what can I do here? Opponents hasn't provided anything because I can't play parallel to the V. Opponent may have Ag, but then he's going to be left with a pretty clunky set of tiles. So can I play parallel to Snariest? And my A can go underneath the E. So I could play bed, but I'd much rather play the F. In fact, I'd rather play both the B and the F, which I can do with Fab or Bath. 16 points. Do I want to keep these bingo lanes open? I quite like Fab because keeping 2 E's means if I draw an A, I have a G. I'm just wondering if I should play Frab instead. Wow, only 2 minutes on my clock. 5 tiles in the bag. Frab will score more, but I think the R helps this rack. I'm short on time, I'm going with this. Well, I draw the U, not good. So, do I have any big J plays? So opponent's still got a G. That's annoying. I'm just looking in column 4 to see if I can block that with an H something V play, and I can't. Yeah. So I now trail by about 30. There's 1 tile in the bag, and I am very short on time. 1 minute on my clock. Column 3 is a bingo lane through this S. Not seeing anything there. Do I have a play down from the E? And I don't think I do. So, how to get value from the H? I'm still looking at this E, not seeing anything. I think I will play just the H. I think I could need a bingo to win. So, ho for 10. So, again, anything through this S? I don't think so. I think the U has scuppered that. And I couldn't play off the H and the U last turn. Through an A, I would have... Well, no, I wouldn't have aureated. I don't think that's good. Do I have anything through the N? So it'd have to be an ENA word. I do. I have denature. Let's see if that remains available. Wow, that would be great fun. So, opponent may be looking around for getting value from his W and Y. Supposing he blocks that, could he create a lane for a 7? I don't think I do have a 7 here. And I have 1 minute on my clock. Maybe if I just look away from column 4, my opponent won't play there. I don't really have any scoring tiles. Do I have anything in column 11? And I think anything other than the bingo is going to be a case of minimizing the losing spread. "12 minutes on opponent's clock, so he's got a lot of time to spot my bingo and block it. Have I exhausted all bingo lanes? And I think I probably have. Can't see anything ending OD. Right, opponent does block, well, let me just check this. DENAT, he does block denature. No, he doesn't. He provides a new spot for it. Fantastic. 50 seconds left. Denature for 72. Bang! That is the way to end a game. Fantastic. And the final score, 433 for my opponent, 462 for me, a winning margin of 29 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Fantastic. I couldn't believe having my bingo blocked that it would then play somewhere else. So it was my opponent to go first. Wow, and he has a bingo, Euromere, really difficult to spot. Plays more, and this was my rack. Phew, no missed bingo here. And I played Tate, and I think Tenet also has some merit. Opponent's rack. Plays Ner. And this is my rack, and I played, well, did I play Drent right now? I think I did. Yep, and that, but it's not in that spot. J, 10, and yeah, and I think Drent might be better in row J because it doesn't take a hook on the end and it takes out the hooks for Ner. So I think that would have been a better spot to play in, and it would have scored 7 more points. Great rack for opponent. Plays Clamper. Wow, missed bingo. Unsampled, a 9-letter play through AM. Wow, tricky one to spot. I missed it. Well done if you spotted that. And what did I do? I played Pruned instead, which despite the keeping the S on my rack is significantly inferior to unsampled. 36 points is a big score difference, and it's not made up by this rack leave. Horrible rack for opponent. Plays UFO. And now I have Shekels for 114, and that was an unblockable bingo. Opponent's still struggling, but has drawn a blank. Plays Yo. And I now trail by 5, and I play Whist for 33. Opponent's rack. Now got an S to go with his blank. Plays Zill. And just 2 points separating us. I play Ilia, which sorted my rack out. And opponent has 6 Ains, but doesn't play it. Plays XI. And it's possible that was a conscious choice. I don't know, but there's going to be very little between those plays. Although 6 Ains scores 42 more points, or 43 more points, Z does retain the blank, which is worth 25 to 30, and the S, so I think those moves might be quite close were one to simulate them. Now, I trail by about 10, and I play Biz for 20. That looks fine. And now opponent has a ton of bingos and plays Snariest. And this was the moment when the game teetered a little bit. I think if I'd mistangoed, I could see the game running out as an easy victory for opponent. But fortunately, I saw it before playing something else. And it's certainly game on now with a 15-point lead for me. Great play by opponent of Octavo, sorting his rack out and taking out a hotspot. I trailed by 20, and I didn't feel great because I didn't feel this rack was ever going to mature into a bingo, and there were limited scoring spots on the board, so I thought it was just going to be tit for tat, with opponent maintaining the tempo and winning as the most likely scenario. Now A2, that was my play, Joko, and I still don't know between these placements of Joko here and Joko in column 5 as to which is the better. Each has merits. Opponent's rack. Wow, he could have played a jiver for 57. That would have settled things. Instead, he plays caving. K5, def. Yeah, maybe we're considering 27 points is pretty good. I play fab instead. Really, really tricky, and I was so short on time. I was down to less than 2 minutes at this point, and it was very difficult to think through just strategically what the best thing to do was, since this board was so unbingo-y, and I wasn't so far behind that I needed a bingo. So it was just jolly tricky trying to think strategically of the type of play I was looking to make, and coupled with the shortage of time meant that I didn't have a lot of time to really work my way through it. But I think it's one of those situations where even if I did have time, I think I would have struggled to identify the best play, and even now I have no idea how fab compares to def, for example. Now, opponent's rack plays a G, and I trail by 30 points with just one tile in the bag. And I think all of these plays here are losing plays because they all play off more than one tile, which means I can't bingo on my last move. And I think I'm really in that position of needing to bingo. So I play just HO, and this is opponent's rack. Well, he does play Sweeney, but that's not a winning play. But I suspect he does have winning plays. Let's see what Examiner 1 thinks. And he has to block Denature, but pretty much anything which blocks Denature will win. So is there anything obvious? Well, Sway. Sway, I think, would have done the job. Difficult to see from the others, but I think absolutely anything which blocks Denature wins. So J6, renew, and that does block Denature because it replaces the B, where I made AB, with BE, so Denature no longer plays. Anyway, opponent didn't do that. He played Sweeney, and wow, a choice of bingos, Denature, but also under 8 and under eat, all for the same score. And that was the end of that, and I think that was a really good illustrative game of where a game is effectively lost and your only hope of winning is that your opponent makes a mistake, and you need to play for that, and that's what I did by playing off just the H. I knew that even if I had a bingo on my last rack, it would probably only play in one spot. Opponent would be able to spot it, he would be able to block it, but he has to do all of those things and he has to do it correctly. So by playing H, I was putting my opponent in a position of needing to play correctly and giving him the opportunity to make a mistake, which is what he did by sticking that N out in the open. And because I had played off only one tile, I did have 7 tiles on my rack and was able to bingo and win the game. So absolutely fantastic stuff. Many thanks to my opponent for a great battle. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.